Have you ever wondered why those lively gatherings or visits to friends and family, once so exciting, now feel like a burden? After 70, many of us start to notice a quiet shift. It's not because you're lonely or losing your spark. Sometimes it's a profound inner awakening, a moment when you realize your time and energy are more precious than ever, and you want to spend them on what truly matters. If you've ever stood in front of the mirror, getting ready for a visit, only to think, I don't really want to go, you're not alone. Thousands of people your age are feeling the same way. And here's the best part. This doesn't mean you're giving up or fading away. On the contrary, it could be a sign of growth, of finally putting yourself first, of choosing peace over social obligations that no longer fit. In today's video, we'll dive into the deep, honest reasons behind this change. Reasons that will not only help you understand why you feel this way, but also make you proud for listening to your heart. This isn't a story about pulling away or isolating yourself. It's about rediscovering who you are, living wiser and more authentically in the most precious years of your life. Stick with us, because by the end of this video, you'll not only gain clarity, but also feel empowered to live as the truest version of yourself. Before we dive in, if this topic resonates with you and you'd love more meaningful content to help you live healthier and happier in your golden years, please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Your support fuels us to keep bringing you heartfelt stories and advice to enrich your journey. Number 1, protecting your emotional boundaries. As you cross the threshold of 70, you begin to see a truth you might have overlooked for years. Not every interaction is good for your soul. Conversations that once brought laughter or joy can now feel like cold winds, passing through and leaving you empty, drained. Have you ever left a gathering and wondered, why do I feel like I just lost a piece of myself? That's when you realize your emotional energy isn't an endless river. It's more like a small flame, one that needs guarding to keep burning bright. Take Clara, 74, a woman who always prided herself on being the heart of her family. Every weekend, she'd visit her son's house where the extended family gathered. But over time, Clara noticed these visits no longer brought her joy. The conversations often revolved around complaints about work, money, or trivial matters, and no one asked how she was doing. Once she tried sharing about a morning walk she cherished, but her story was quickly drowned out by louder voices. Clara left her son's house feeling like a spectator, not a valued part of the moment. One day she made a choice. Instead of driving there, she stayed home, brewed a cup of tea, and wrote in her journal about what made her happy. For the first time in years, she felt her heart could rest. Protecting your emotional boundaries isn't about becoming distant or cold. It's about learning to say no to interactions that wound your spirit so you can make room for moments that make you feel seen and loved. Ask yourself, if I wouldn't force myself to walk through physical pain, why would I let my heart step into conversations that hurt it? At this age, you've spent decades pleasing others, smiling through complaints, listening to one-sided stories, or showing up just to keep the peace. But now you have the right to choose where you place your heart. You deserve relationships that bring warmth, not stress. From a psychological perspective, experts call this part of emotional maturity. As we age, we become more attuned to what truly nourishes our spirit. A study on aging psychology shows that older adults often prioritize meaningful relationships over superficial interactions meant to save face. Clara in her story learned that skipping a family gathering didn't mean abandoning her family. It was her way of honoring herself, protecting that small flame of emotion so it could burn brightly for those who truly valued her. Don't you think you deserve that gift too? The gift of peace, of choosing where your heart belongs? Number 2, revaluing your precious time. Have you ever sat down, gazed out the window, and realized that every moment that passes is a rare gem you can't reclaim? When you were younger, time felt like an endless ocean. You could spend hours at gatherings and small talk or on visits without much thought. But after 70, a simple yet profound truth emerges. Your time is no longer infinite. It's like an hourglass, each grain of sand a moment you want to cherish. Have you ever asked yourself, is this visit truly worth my precious time? I remember a friend, Henry, 77, who used to drive 3 hours every weekend to visit an old college buddy. They'd sit together, sip coffee, and reminisce about the past. But over time, Henry noticed these conversations no longer felt connecting. They were repetitive, circling around the same stories, and sometimes his friend only talked about his own problems without asking about Henry. One day, Henry looked out at his backyard, where he'd always dreamed of planting a row of fruit trees. He thought, why am I not spending my time on something I truly love? So he stayed home, got his hands dirty, and started planting. Every morning he tended to his trees, feeling the joy of creating something alive. Henry didn't abandon his friendship. He just chose to use his time in a way that fed his soul. Revaluing your time isn't selfish. It's an act of wisdom. At this age, you understand that every hour spent with others is an hour not spent healing, resting, or chasing simple but meaningful joys. How many mornings do you have left to sit quietly, savoring a cup of coffee, listening to the birds chirping outside? How many afternoons remain to stroll in the sunlight, feeling its warmth on your face? These aren't gloomy thoughts. They're empowering. You have the right to choose how to spend your time, and that starts with saying no to visits that no longer bring you happiness. Picture your time as a cherished notebook with limited pages. Each day, you get to write a new page, and you want those pages filled with moments that make your heart sing. Psychologists say that as we age, we naturally prioritize activities that carry deep meaning over social obligations that no longer fit. Henry, in his story, learned to fill his notebook with joy, from his garden, from quiet moments, from living true to himself. Are you ready to pick up the pen and write the most beautiful chapters of your life? Number 3, avoiding emotional exhaustion. Have you ever left a gathering feeling like a piece of your vitality was drained away? Not because you were physically tired, but because your soul felt empty, like a pitcher with no water left. After 70, you become more sensitive to interactions that no longer align with who you are. Shallow conversations, repetitive gossip, or gatherings just to keep up appearances can leave you more exhausted than ever. And here's the truth. You don't have to keep enduring them. Take Dorothy, 71, who used to attend every reunion of her high school friends. Those meetups were once filled with laughter, but now they often centered on complaints about health, recycled old stories, or discussions that didn't involve Dorothy. Once she tried sharing about her new passion, painting landscapes, but no one really listened. They were too busy debating a political issue she didn't care about. When she got home, Dorothy felt like she'd wasted a precious afternoon. One day she decided to stop going. Instead, she signed up for a painting class at the community center, where she met people who shared her interests and were eager to listen. For the first time in years, Dorothy felt her heart was nourished, not depleted. This kind of emotional exhaustion isn't a sign of weakness. It's your wisdom speaking. Psychologists call it the emotional selectivity theory. As we age, we naturally seek deeper, more meaningful relationships and interactions, letting go of those that merely fill time. You don't need to sit through conversations that make you feel invisible or attend gatherings just to prove you're still in the game. You have the right to choose stillness over noise, depth over surface. Imagine your soul as a garden. Encounters that don't nurture you are like weeds, sapping the energy and space needed for joy to bloom. Dorothy, in her story, learned to pull out those weeds, making room for people and moments that truly made her feel alive. Are you ready to do the same? When you say no to draining encounters, you're saying yes to yourself, to joy, to connection, to moments that make your heart shine. Number 4, preserving your physical energy. Have you ever walked into a gathering carrying a small gift or a smile, only to return home feeling like you've just run a marathon? After 70, even a short trip out can feel like a much bigger task than you expected. It's not because you're weak, it's because your body, with all its wisdom, is whispering, slow down, take care of me. This isn't a sign of decline. It's a reminder that your energy is a treasure that needs to be guarded carefully. Take Edward, 78, who used to attend every meeting of his town's card-playing club. Every week, he'd drive 30 minutes, bring a box of homemade cookies, and sit through hours-long games. But over time, Edward noticed these trips left him exhausted. Parking, walking across the lot, and sitting on hard chairs in the meeting room left him aching for the rest of the next day. One afternoon, as he prepared for another meeting, Edward glanced out his window and saw sunlight sparkling on the lake near his home. He thought, why not take a walk there instead of forcing myself through a draining evening? So he skipped the meeting, slipped on comfortable shoes, and strolled around the lake. For the first time in months, he came home feeling refreshed, not depleted. Edward didn't abandon his friends. He simply learned to listen to his body. Preserving your physical energy isn't laziness. It's a form of self-respect. At this age, you know your energy isn't as abundant as it once was. A 2-hour visit might cost you an entire day of recovery. Small details you once overlooked, like climbing stairs, sitting on uncomfortable chairs, or eating food that don't agree with you, now become significant challenges. You have the right to say no to gatherings that wear you out, saving your energy for moments that bring joy. Ask yourself, if I wouldn't force myself to walk with aching feet, why would I push my body into trips that exhaust it? Psychologists call this embodied wisdom, the idea that your body carries its own kind of intelligence, knowing when enough is enough. When you listen to your body, you're honoring that wisdom. Edward, in his story, learned to put his physical health first, not because he stopped caring about his friends, but because he realized that to live fully, he needed to care for his body first. Picture your energy as a precious vase, holding your vitality. Every time you go out, you pour a little out. Don't you want to save those precious drops for things that truly make you happy? At 70, you deserve comfort, moments that make your body feel loved, not forced. Number 5, managing your emotional economy. Have you ever felt like a conversation or relationship was draining your energy, as if you'd lost a piece of your soul? After 70, you start to realize that your emotional energy isn't something to spend carelessly. It's like a precious garden. You need to pull out the weeds to let the flowers bloom. Negative interactions, people who only take without giving back, or stressful encounters can wither your soul's garden. And here's the truth. You have the right to protect that garden. Consider Beatrice, 80, who used to call her childhood friend every week. They'd talk about everything, from family to old memories. But over time, Beatrice noticed these calls grew heavier. Her friend constantly complained about her kids, her health, and sometimes even criticized Beatrice's lifestyle, from her love of solitude to her choice of books. Each time she hung up, Beatrice felt drained, needing hours to regain her balance. One day she decided to cut back on those calls and instead joined a meditation group at her community center. There she met people who brought peace, encouraging her to share without judgment. Beatrice didn't end her friendship. She simply learned to protect her emotional garden, letting it flourish with light. Managing your emotional economy isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about recognizing that you no longer have to endure relationships that exhaust you. At this age, you've spent decades keeping the peace, smiling through criticism, or trying to please those who don't value you. But now you understand that your emotional energy is like a precious stream. It must be used wisely. Ask yourself, why would I let people who bring drama walk into my soul's garden? You have the right to say no to one-sided relationships, to those who only take without giving, making room for connections that bring warmth and respect. Psychological research shows that as we age, we naturally seek relationships that nourish our spirit, avoiding interactions that cause stress. Beatrice, in her story, learned to weed out the negativity in her emotional garden, making space for people and moments that made her feel loved. Don't you think your soul's garden deserves that kind of care too? When you protect your emotional energy, you're not just living healthier, you're living more authentically, true to the person you've become after all these years. Number 6, awakening your self-respect. There comes a moment in life, often after 70, when you stop asking for permission to value yourself. You no longer need others' approval to feel your worth. You're no longer afraid of disappointing someone. Instead, a deep instinct rises, the instinct to protect your dignity. That's when you realize you deserve relationships that respect you, moments that lift you up, and a life that reflects your true self. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep showing up in places that make me feel small? Think of Thomas, 76, who was once the pillar of his extended family. Every holiday, Thomas hosted gatherings at his home, cooking, decorating, and ensuring everyone was happy. But over time, he noticed these events often left him feeling overlooked. No one really asked how he was doing, and sometimes he heard careless comments about how he ran things. One year, as he prepared for a Christmas party, Thomas paused and asked, "Who am I doing this for?" He decided to change things. Instead of hosting a big event, he invited a few close loved ones for a simple dinner where everyone truly talked and listened. For the first time, Thomas felt seen, not as an organizer, but as himself. That choice didn't just change one evening. It transformed how he lived. Awakening your self-respect isn't arrogance, it's self-love. At this age, you've lived through decades of being undervalued, misunderstood, or asked to fit in, even when it meant sacrificing yourself. You've smiled through hurtful words, attended gatherings just to please others, or said yes when your heart wanted to say no. But now you see that betraying yourself costs far more than disappointing someone else. Ask yourself, why should I keep lowering my worth to meet others' expectations? You have the right to decline obligatory invitations, walk away from conversations that make you feel invisible, and choose moments that honor your dignity. Psychologists say this awakening of self-respect is a natural part of aging. As we grow older, we learn to stand firm in our worth, needing no external validation. Thomas, in his story, learned to say yes to himself, choosing moments that made him feel valued. Are you ready to stand firm in your worth, to live a life that reflects your true self? When you do, you're not just protecting your dignity, you're inspiring those around you to do the same. If you've reached 70 and find yourself pulling back from visits, crowded gatherings, or conversations that no longer matter, let me tell you this: you're not broken. You're not giving up. What you're doing, often without realizing it, is stepping into a wiser, more authentic version of yourself. Aging, despite its challenges, is a precious gift. It helps you see what truly matters and let go of the noise, the obligations, the things that no longer serve you. Think of your journey as a long road where you've carried heavy baggage, others' expectations, social habits, roles you've played. But now you have the right to set that baggage down. You have the right to choose relationships that nourish your soul, moments that bring joy, and days that reflect your true self. The 6 reasons we've explored, from protecting your emotional boundaries to awakening your self-respect, aren't signs of withdrawal. They're milestones on the path to a deeper, more peaceful life. You're evolving, and in that evolution, you're finding the rhythm of your own soul. At this age, you've earned the right to prioritize yourself. You've earned your peace, and you've earned the wisdom to know that stepping back from what no longer matters isn't giving up. It's growing gracefully. Embrace this season of wisdom in your life, where you're free to live authentically, fully, and with a heart that's open yet protected. We'd love your support. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, turning on the notification bell to catch our next videos. Your support helps us keep bringing meaningful stories and advice for your golden years. We also want to hear from you. In the comments below, share one thing you learned from this video or a moment that resonated with you most. Your thoughts are a huge inspiration to us. Separately, if you have any suggestions for how we can improve, let us know. What topics would you like us to explore to support your journey to a healthier, happier life? Thank you for being here, and we can't wait to see you in our next video.